Okay, in the day's only game in the Rugby League World Cup, France were playing Greece up in Doncaster. It's finished 34 points to 12. It was 20-0 at half time to France, so the French laboured in the second half, and you could have thought the upset was on when the Greeks got their first of two tries. Their second try is fantastic, great vision for the kick and the catch, and better than one of Dominic Young's tries for England against Samoa. Possibly the best try of the tournament so far. Unorthodox vision, basically. And the Greeks in attack were a little bit unorthodox, and the French couldn't cope with that, which I found very interesting considering when the French play well, they play unorthodox attacking style. The French were off the boil today, and in the second half, for large periods, were poor. So that's my opinion on that one. First half, the French were very, very good, and the Greeks, for large portions of the first half, defended very stoutly, and I think they were running out of steam by half time, which is where a couple of tries get scored. Now, the French score early with Desire on 8 minutes. That's just a power try from a forward, 5 minutes out, barging his way over the line. Morg, the number 6, didn't miss a kick all game, so he's converted every try and scored 2 penalties. The penalty on 24 minutes is just keeping the scoreboard ticking over because the Greeks are frustrating them in defence, and so therefore they're not getting that second try. They're not, keeping the scoreboard ticking over. That's an understandable penalty to take. The second penalty they scored later on in the game. Go for the 6 points. The Greeks were giving away repeat penalties at that phase of the game, and that was a bit of an odd one. Maybe they wanted to take a breather, take the sting out of it a little bit, and then reassert the controlling pace of the game. The Gigot try followed shortly after the first Morg penalty. Again, that's just good half-back play, supporting with the kick through and the failure of the Greek defence to defuse that kick through. That was his best bit of play. Gigot had a very off-boil game. His kicking game was poor. Some of his pass selection was poor, and that I think had an impact on the French team. He is a bit of an off-the-cuff, unorthodox 7, but he didn't have a great game. His radar was off with his kicking out on the full, kicking it dead, kicking it straight to Mitsas regularly on the Greek right wing, so not finding grass and space. But that was a great bit of support play, but not his best game. Benjamin Julian gets his first of 2 tries on 34 minutes. And you're thinking at this point, okay, the scoreboard could blow out. It could be a blowout score like England, Samoa, Ireland, Jamaica. Thankfully, the scoreline was exactly the same as Lebanon and New Zealand last night. And those two sides are much closer in comparison than these two sides for quality. So that just shows how well Greece played, especially in the second half. Now, Arthur Morg's try just after half-time of 47 minutes. That's great support running. That's great support play. Quick play the balls, going through the middle, offloads. So that's a great bit of play by Arthur Morg. He had a very, very good game. He was my man of the match, in my opinion. He was very, very good off the kicking tee, very, very good in support play and creativity. And when he was kicking from hand, more accurate and more controlled than Gigot. I will get to where I think I have some concerns with this French side going against Samoa and England later in the group stage. Sitimi Takamo's try. What we had seen with the Greeks is they were being a bit unorthodox. It's a good kick through. There's no doubt. Meade's kick through is a brilliant kick through. But the two French wingers and Escaré, the fullback, are being narrow and shallow in their defence. Even when they're further up the field, Escaré is very, very shallow, closer to the defensive line. And the Greeks have realised this, even though they're playing unorthodox, kicking early or kicking in places you wouldn't expect a kick to be had on the field. That's great wing play. Takamo played very, very well on the left wing. Mitsas on the right wing was very good in defence, diffusing kicks. They kept kicking to him all game, which I found a bit bizarre considering very early on he had established that he was beating his opposite number in the air and winning the aerial duel in that sense, both in attack and defence. So that was an interesting one. And he'd beaten his opposition winger for positioning and pace. And in defence, he hit a few of the French players quite hard, turning the ball over into Greek possession. Takamo's try is brilliant. That was the biggest cheer of the night up to that point. So already they put a marker down saying, look, we can attack a little bit. And the Greeks were very unorthodox, and the French couldn't deal with that unorthodox kicking game, running game, the offloads, and the fact they were willing to kick on first play. The French were not fully prepared for how unorthodox the Greeks were going to play, considering historically the French, when it comes to either code of rugby, like playing off the cuff and sometimes playing like that. A bit surprised with how naive the French were to expect the Greeks just to play a pretty bog standard 80-minute normal rugby league style game. The Greeks really figured out that the French were not taking them seriously enough, I don't think, and they were thinking outside the box to gain territory, possession, and chances. Now, the penalty on 67 minutes is a head scratcher. Do not understand the thinking behind the French decision to take the two. They were on top. Greece had given away a couple of repeat penalties and go for the six, the fall of the six. If you think about it, they had the Greeks blowing. The Greeks have had their 10-15 minute purple patch in the first half of the second half, and the French have reasserted control. That was a bit of a bizarre decision on 67 minutes, but Artur Morga's been brilliant off the boot. Then again, the Greeks were still showing flashes. If the ball goes to hand or that kick ends up in the right place with the right chase, hey, they could have actually scored some more points here. So when Benjamin Julian scores his second try, okay, that steadied the French nerves a little bit. Morgue converts again. Benjamin Julian had a very good game. Artur Morgue had a very, very good game. And then the Nick Mugios try right at the death. Very, very good kick. And again, the French wingers have come in narrow, and Escaré, the fullback, has come in shallow. So where that kick ends up and that catch on the full run. And then Escaré, I don't know what he's doing defensively. The other, he was all over the place. And yeah, the Greek outside backs are quick. That's something I have noticed tonight, is the Greek outside backs are very, very quick. And once they get that overlap and that bit of space or that kick through, you're going to have problems diffusing that. And when you're defending in a very shallow, narrow way, you've created a natural overlap for your opposition, be it by kick or pass. The Greeks decided to kick it right at the death. They were prepared to still go out and score the last points. They did that. It's finished 34 points to 12. Now look, Greece aren't going to win again. Okay, they've got to play Samoa in England, and on paper that is, big scoreline appending. But they acquitted themselves well. They were very, very physical and organised in defence. Yes, there were moments where the French picked up that pace a little bit and they couldn't quite last with that. But now they've got their combinations going. Now they've got their players a full 80 minutes, and they do play unorthodox. So when England play and Samoa play them, there are going to be opportunities. Samoa, we don't know how they're going to respond to that defeat against England when they play next, and when they play the French. That Samoan side was really, really poor. England didn't have to play amazingly to beat Samoa on the opening day, and they may decide to rotate some players, obviously, for the Greece game. The French side of things, they were underwhelming, especially in the second half. The first half, when they actually started to get going, you're thinking, okay, if they can continue that in the second half, they've ironed out a few bits of rustiness and got their combinations going, you would think they could put 40, 50, 60 points on. They put 34 points on in total. And I have some concerns about how they did defend on the channel, the wide channels. You can see there's definitely a weakness there where they're too narrow and too shallow, especially when kicks are going in. And the Greeks were kicking early in sets as well, and they weren't prepared for that. So maybe Samoa, being a bit, again, with some unorthodox players in their lineup who are very, very skillful, take advantage of that. Basically, the French gave up a lot of space in defence behind. They weren't fully at the races today. I wouldn't be surprised if the French make some changes, rotate some players, actually make a statement saying that's not good enough. On the Greek side of things, no injuries that I can think of that I could tell, and they may again get some players in for some game time. This is just experience for the Greeks, but hey, they were very, very competitive tonight, and they held their own against one of the only four nations to ever win the World Cup. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I will have some more videos for you very, very soon.